You heard a rude comment, something happened at work, you got ill, or an unexpected bill arrived in the mail. We tend to blame these things for us losing our peace. But if we look a little closer, something else is happening entirely. The mind is running an old script, and today we're going to take a look at this trap of attraction and aversion and how we can step out of it. Hi, I'm Jean-Pierre and welcome to The Further Shore. Here we learn together to embody peace, joy and love. So we tend to think that we're unhappy because something has entered our experience. But what's really going on? When we come in contact with something that's entered our awareness, so that could be a comment that someone's made, it can be your body that just doesn't feel well, or that unexpected bill that we referred to earlier. So when we make contact with it, it actually has a raw tone or a raw quality that comes with that contact. So this sensory contact can be pleasant, neutral, or unpleasant. It's the intrinsic tone of making contact with something in your experience. We all want to smoothen our experience. Where we get tripped up is in thinking that it is the very thing that we make contact with that brings with it resistance, suffering, etc. What we don't quite realize is that it is in the aversion to an unpleasant tone or the craving after a pleasant tone that actually creates that internal friction. So when something has an unpleasant tone, the mind tends to label it as bad, and then your whole system sees it as a threat. And it's in trying to assess this threat and to try and get rid of it that the mind then starts to spin stories around it. So it would ask, where does this come from? How long is it going to stay? How can I get rid of this in the quickest and fastest way possible? So this tone and the labeling is causing stories about it, but now the story is also creating its own feeling and emotional effect, which again then can generate stories about that. So you can see that we have a whole loop that's being created until you somehow break this circuit. A similar process plays out when the mind is after something pleasant. Now it creates stories like, how can I keep this in my experience? How can I get more of this? And what would happen to me if I lose this? So it's a similar process, just from a different angle. But you can see that once again, there are worries, craving, chasing that now actually gets introduced because of it. This just creates a different kind of suffering, but still it prevents us from embodying our peace. So whether we're responding to something pleasant or something unpleasant, in both cases it's carried, it's supported by the key misunderstanding that things in our experience are permanent or fixed. It thinks that it can collect joy and hold on to it because it's permanent, or it desperately tries to get rid of something unpleasant. And this gives both chasing after something or trying to get rid of it a sense of desperation and needing to get rid of it, or really needing to get it as soon as possible. In response to what is unpleasant in our experience, states like anger, blame, and worry all arise as you're now trying to desperately control and change your environment so you can feel better. But the thing is that we never really have full control over our experience. We don't even have full control over our bodies. We still get sick, we still age. We take back our power when we're no longer insisting things to be a certain way so that we can enter our inner peace. And we do that by meeting the experiences as they enter our awareness, whether they're pleasant or unpleasant, with a sense of acceptance. You allow the tone to be whatever it wants to be without resisting it when it's unpleasant or grasping at it when it's pleasant. Of course, this means that we need to be aware of what our mind is doing and what sense perceptions we are picking up on so that we are able to guide the mind. If we're able to maintain awareness and acceptance, then we allow ourselves to insert a space between us and this feeling that we made contact with. And that allows us to not fuse with the thoughts and the feelings, and that prevents us from spinning stories about these experiences. So if we don't resist these feelings and thoughts, and we don't chase after them, and we don't spin stories about them, then we are actually starving them from our attention, and then they naturally run out of steam. This isn't to say that we can't have preferences or that we should pretend that an unpleasant feeling tone is actually pleasant, or that we can't enjoy things that have a pleasant tone. But the way that you approach it is actually fundamental to what unfolds thereafter. Because the moment that you say that you need something to be able to enter your inner peace, then you've fused with it. You've made your peace conditional, and you've outsourced the access to your peace to the circumstances and the conditions around you. So whether you desire something's existence or its non-existence, either will bind you to it. Both will lead to the feeding of the thoughts around it. If we remember what is lasting and what isn't, then we don't look for our peace or relief outside of us. We don't look for it in places where it will never be found, because peace will never be found outside of you. It will never be in your surroundings, in your circumstances, or in the obtaining of what's pleasant, or in the getting rid of what's unpleasant. And the more we practice changing how we relate to the things that enter our experience, the sensory contact that these make, the more we change how we interact with whatever enters our experience. And the more we practice this shift in how we relate to the things that enter our awareness, the more we change our default interaction with the things that enter our experience. And over time, it will change from being something that you practice, a technique, to just your lived, normal, everyday experience of how you relate to your surroundings. That's how we uncover real peace and joy from within in a way that actually lasts. If this message resonated with you, please hit the like button. And don't forget to subscribe to The Further Shore so you don't miss our next discussion on embodying true freedom. If you want to spend more time with me exploring topics like these, please visit my website at jeanpierre.com. Until next time, take care and remember to be kind to yourself.